check the position of cursor. Check the position of cursor, that would do. So the test case to check the position of the cursor, we have given that as the description as check the position of cursor. So it should be in username. Now tab flow. Check the tab flow. Now expected result should be, flow should be proper. That is, let's suppose the cursor is in, let's suppose the user user has entered a URL address in the URL and clicked, so a login page is displayed. So the first thing is the cursor should be in the username text box, and the next thing is if you click on tab button on your keyboard, the cursor should come down. It should be in password text box now, and after that if you click on tab button again, it should be on submit button, and after that it should be on cancel button. So that is the flow. So these are actually the test cases for login page. These are just preparing test cases for login page. Once you execute those test cases, once you get the build and once you start executing these test cases, like check, let's say this one, submit button. Let's take an example of this submit button, this test case. Assume that the developers have given you a login page to test. Now what will you do is, we'll check the functionality of the submit button first by giving valid values in username and password. So we'll follow these steps. We'll enter valid values in username and valid values in password and click on submit button. So valid values are admin and admin, and this again, this is at times called as test script. That is, the input values we are giving are test scripts actually. And here we have expected result should display the welcome page. For example, if the functionality of submit button is proper, it will display the welcome page. That is, the actual result will be as expected. Let's assume that the developers have given you a login page and you have tested the functionality of submit button, and when entered valid username and password, it is the user is able to log on. So the actual result would be here, should display login page, or is displaying login page, or is displaying, is displaying welcome page. So we would write the status here as passed. And defect ID not applicable, because this test case has passed, so that there won't be a defect ID for this. It won't. So suppose the functionality of submit button is not proper, that is, even if we have entered a valid username and password, it's not accepting, it is throwing an error, and it is asking the user to enter valid credentials. Now that is an error. So now here these things will change here. The expected result would be the actual result would be prompting the user to enter valid credentials. Even though we have entered valid credentials, it is prompting us to enter valid credentials. So that is a bug, that is an error. So status would be failed or fail or failed, and the defect ID here would be, see here we have given the test case as 1.3.1. so defect related to this one, this test case would be 1.3.1.1. so if you can remember, I have given the scenario ID as 1.3 for submit button, and the test case as 1.3.1 for this test case, and if this test case has failed, I have given that defect as 1.3.1.1. so in this way it's easier to track the defect. Usually this is how these test cases and test scenarios and defects are linked with this number. And again, having said that, every organization follows its own procedure, but the idea or the aim of making this video is to give you guys a brief idea about how to write test cases and test scenarios. So that was about test cases. So in this video what we have done is we have noted the functional requirements of login page, and after that we have prepared test scenarios. Most of the times a junior engineer will not write the test scenarios. He'll just write the test cases and execute them, but senior testers should write test scenarios. So these are the test scenarios for a login page, a basic login page, and after that we discussed about test cases. These are the test cases. I'm not saying that the test cases should look exactly like this, but this must have given you a basic idea. So thank you guys. So thank you so much guys for watching the video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.